When this paper got pushed in front of our boy saying like, hey, you're gonna sign this and you're gonna leave this school. When Papa pops up and he's as bone chilling as he is, and then you have the unflinching nerves of steel over here, like that's just a clash with no winners. And if it wasn't for, like, the chairman popping up and kind of using his own big dick energy to say it's the student's will to leave or not leave, honestly, I have no idea what type of nuclear disaster might have occurred, because neither one of these two is going to back off without a really, really good reason. And I don't think either one of them could give that reason if it's just the two of them alone in a room. But this was an explosive episode. Really, I'd argue this is the episode that changes the most out of anything in this season, because logically it feels like there's got to be something that pulls our boy back to trying to get his class to Class A, but a part of me thinks this man's seemingly expel-proof. Like, he seemingly can do whatever he wants at this point, as long as he's a student who at least tries. But the whole idea that for so long his big reason of trying to get to Class A was he had Sensei over here saying that if you don't help us reach that, I'll get you expelled, sort of a thing. But then after this conversation with someone who's very powerful, who says doesn't play favorites, even with his own kid, very much is playing favorites with Ayano because they know of the White Room. And the White Room very much breeds very carefully crafted, perfect people that would be amazing for this school. So Ayano feels like the safest person, all things considered. So for him, getting to this point, which this episode highlights, people are very much starting to clue in. And the biggest threat, or at the very least what would seem to be the biggest threat, Ryun, just obviously he pretty much knows it's Ayano and he's about to make his final move. And now we're to a point where he's just going to slink back to the shadows. He's going to say, I'm done. I've made prior agreements, and if something happens to you, I will honor those agreements. But there's no more calls. There's no more this or that. And that is a game changer, because you would think there's no way it lasts, right? And if it does, something else explosive has to cause him to come a bit back to the forefront. But for someone like Sensei, who is just, has always been an odd character, because what is the deal? Why is she so obsessed? And maybe it's just because all these years never had the students to do so, until Ayano popped up, and then therefore he could. And I think it stings even more for her, because the class is literally in harmony right now. They're actually working together, even when all the classes are, stalking them, trying to make them pissed off, so they'll throw fists around, or they'll make a move that might get them expelled or punish their class. They're staying strong. Like, things are working out for them right now, and then their biggest player, the king, moving all these pieces around, has now decided to slink back to the shadows and just do his own thing. And that is an interesting turn of events that I wasn't expecting in the slightest. Like, I imagined the whole pushing a paper saying sign it and we're leaving wasn't going to come true, and he was going to get out of it. I just wasn't expecting him to have as big of a shield as he had, and now can just stay in defense mode for seemingly a very long time until something changes his tune or attitude. I imagine that something will probably happen within the next couple of episodes, or they'll just end in a cliffhanger that will make us think in Season 3, that's when he'll change. Either way, Classroom of the Elite, for what is arguably a slower paced episode, but chock full of just as amazing and exciting moments as any of the past, this show in Season 2 has really elevated Classroom of the Elite to another level, in my opinion. And that whole conversation with his dad, I mean, there's some people you don't want to be your family, or you don't want to have connections to, and this man's one of them. Voice actor, 10 out of 10. Perfectly captures what they need to. He doesn't come across as someone who screams his way into making you fearful. It's just his overwhelming authority and power that comes off from his vocal performance. And a man who just sat there for most of the episode in terms of the scenes he was in, just saying like, you will do what I say, sort of a thing. And even though Aino wasn't like flinching or anything, it made me think, like, what is he going to do to get out of this? Because it's not like either one of them is going to back down, it feels like. The whole idea that, the White Room that apparently crafted him into who he is, and obviously we see that it's a mad genius with basically nerves of steel. And just the whole idea that he escaped that, and then just the whole concept of bringing up, like, this accident, this fire that someone set themselves, basically the person who helped you ended up getting punished, and just the family screwed because of it. And just to see how easily he could say those things without breaking a sweat, and how, like, we got a little bit of a directing choice where, like, you saw his eyes a little bit respond, but physically he didn't move an inch at that news, basically saying like, why would I? It's not something I need to blame myself for. More like, well, look in the mirror. You're definitely the person responsible, not me. With how everything is going in this season, like, it feels like this class has finally reached that point where they're connected, they're clicking, and everything seems to be working out. The biggest threats they have no longer seem that explosive. So introducing the dad who said, this is like your one and final warning, you're going to do what I say, and then obviously we see how that gets de-escalated. To me, that was going to be the big moment, right? I was like, okay, now that the dad's on our mind, now that, you know, Father Dearest over here is not playing around, that's going to be a pretty big threat to probably leave us off this season as we transition into season 3. But instead, they decide to go the route of this man who's been very in the forefront, someone who people are starting to suspect, and, you know, the people you don't want to suspect you are definitely realizing who the mastermind is. And then he just says, I'm done. There's a lot of ways that this could go. I imagine Horkia's not going to be too happy about it, even though, like, she wants to have a bit more control. Like, there's no arguing the bonus that this man does give her, and just the fact of the matter is, it feels like what he's about to do will last a little bit, but probably not that long, because it's just hard to imagine, right? Because this man is the reason things happen successfully, and even though this man also causes some insane-ass drama, how does Classroom of the Elite go about its days with him just slinking in the shadows again? Because even though he feels bulletproof right now, right? Someone who apparently can't get expelled because seemingly the chairman is very much interested in him, wants to keep him here, and probably because of knowing about the White Room and just the whole idea that he's just the perfect model student, so you wouldn't want to lose that. But then again, maybe something will happen with the father that will maybe lower that bulletproof status, so maybe he's not as protected as he currently feels, so maybe that will then force him back. Or maybe it'll just be a character change moment, like some development that will force him to willingly do it, not because he has to. That could also be a turn of events that would propel his character to actually develop past the kind of like emotional wall that he currently stands as. Because as much as Aino is someone who does things because he has to, as seen by the phone call at the end of the episode, I will help you if I have to sort of a thing, but I'm not going to go out of my way to check in and all that because I no longer need to use you for things and blah blah blah. So even though he's kind of presented like that, there's also an element of him that starts to feel a little more human as the season progresses. I'm not saying like it's a massive jump, but if you look at so many moments just from the library scene to just how he truly is with so many people, it doesn't feel as emotionally cold as he was originally starting the show out. And that's an interesting turn of events for a character who can be quite bone-chilling himself, and then you see his father and you say, oh no, he's a nice puppy in comparison right now. But damn, this is a good episode. I think a lot of people call this a slow episode. Slow doesn't equal bad. These are the types of episodes that really gets our mind racing, sets in motion the explosive points for the final couple episodes of the season and potentially even the next season. But great episode across the board. Thoughts, feelings, theories, if you got any down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe if you're new around here. Till next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.